My number six. This is where my list and your list differ a lot.
Oh boy.
My number six, I have Jalen Brunson. Um,
Whoa. Top
yeah.
six. Hello and welcome back to the Fratskaball podcast. I'm your host Kieran, here with my awesome co-host Matt. Today, guys, basically what we're talking about is a couple different things. Top 10 lists. We're talking about, of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves again. Just remind them what we're talking about today, Matt.
Yeah. So, what we got in store for you guys today is a couple different things. Why are people hesitant to see the Wolves and Thunder as contenders? Our top 10 players this year. Another thing on the Thunder, are the Cavs and Thunders pretenders or contenders? And then another little piece on the Thunder. So got a lot to say about the Thunder today from my end. So to kind of start stuff out and just take it from the top, why do you think people are so hesitant on the Thunder specifically? But just kind of while we are on the topic of this, we can throw in maybe a couple other teams like the Wolves or the Cavs or something like that, you know?
Yeah, so I've mentioned this before, but the Thunder, this will be their first year in the playoffs. I don't think they've clinched it yet, a playoff berth, have they? Or maybe they have.
I
Whatever.
don't think so.
Um, if they haven't, all they have to do is like win one more game or something ridiculous like that. This will be their first playoff berth in a couple years, and for a team to go into a rebuild and in their first playoff berth make it to the finals, let alone win a championship, is basically unheard of. Um, we've seen teams do something like doing it in 1 year, like the Golden State Warriors did it the 1 year that they missed the playoffs, or the play-in game to the Grizzlies and then won a championship. Not really the same because they had that 1 year where they were the worst team in the league because Steph Curry was out with that injury, and then the next year after that, they were also plagued with injuries, Klay Thompson, and then they won the championship. This is a totally different story. Obviously, the Thunder are an awesome regular season team, but when you're the second youngest team in the NBA, it's really hard to. We really don't see young guys, even if they are really, really good, succeed to that level in the playoffs. I think the Thunder, it would be even impressive to make it out of the first round, honestly, because they might face a team like the Lakers or the Warriors in the first round, which is like, yeah, these teams are struggling, but you still have a group of ultra veterans on those teams, and it's hard to bet against them. And then also, I mean, some of it is also luck for the Thunder this year. They've been fairly lucky with their with opponent shooting percentage, and they're awesome. This is a great year for them. But I just don't think this is the year for them. This is kind of, in my opinion, maybe like the 2011 season for the Thunder, when Russ and KD and Harden were balling out. And the year after that was the year they made it to the finals. So I think it's just a year early on them, in my opinion, for the Thunder.
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree with everything that you just said there. Just a super young team, and like you said, it's an absolute anomaly for such a young team to go far in the playoffs. Me personally, I see the Thunder, like you said, depending on matchup, but I see the Thunder right now as a second round exit probably.
Yeah.
Um, I I think that it is kind of hard to ignore. The one thing that I will disagree with you, you said they're getting a little bit lucky with their shooting. We're over 60% of the way through the season. I don't think it's luck. I think they can just shoot shit out the ball, man. Like straight up. I know sometimes, yeah, luck is it plays a factor,
Yeah.
but for a good majority, I think the Thunder are a legit team, and I think they are the next dynasty in the NBA.
Yeah, that's definitely not an overreaction for sure, because these guys are just giving complete like big three back in the day for the Thunder, and the drafting that goes on in OKC, it's just absolutely ridiculous how they're able to pick guys. Some things are obvious, like Chet Holmgren, uh, great second overall pick from that 2022 draft class, but I mean, the way they've developed their guys as well, like the way they were able to take Shea out of LA. I think if Shea might have stayed with the Clippers, he would just not be the same player, in my opinion, because he would be playing alongside. He did show flashes when he was in LAC, but playing alongside other superstars sometimes just kind of can hurt your development. I mean, just think back to Kwame Brown with Michael Jordan when he was in Washington. But it's just awesome that he's been able to take the reins for this young team, and I think they have an extremely, extremely bright future, but right now it's just a little bit too early.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You took everything out of my mouth. Um, but yeah, kind of moving forward. So something that I kind of want to touch on real quick. I know we've talked about these two teams a lot, but the Milwaukee Bucks. I said that I wasn't worried a couple weeks back. I would definitely like to change my answer. I'm very worried. The Bucks, I've lost faith in them. I think they're toast, straight up. Chris Middleton is never healthy ever. I think you guys, yes, obviously you're not gonna get. Or me personally, I don't think if you include a Chris Middleton in like a Portland trade that they don't accept that for Dame. But I think that Milwaukee got rid of the wrong guard. I think that last year was the year to get rid of Chris Middleton. He's been hurt for what? This is coming on year 3 that he still doesn't play back to backs or he's just starting to again. Like the man's just it's a problem. It's a problem. I personally think the Bucks finish around the 5 seed when it's all said and done. It's looking like, and I hate like I don't know how else to say this. So correct me or my choice of words if you possibly could. I don't think Dame is falling off, but we're definitely starting to see a little bit of regression from Damian Lillard. Um, so I think that might be a little bit of a worry, but at the end of the day, it is still Damian Lillard. So you could still count on him to make shots when he needs, and he's still probably, call me crazy if you want. He is the best sniper in NBA history from like far shooting, not like Steph Curry consistent, but like range. You know what I'm saying? And another reason, just to kind of like back up why I think that the Bucks will finish around the 5, 6 seed this year. The last few games of the year, they are going to be playing some playoff hungry teams. You're going to be playing the Magic twice, who are I think going to be fringe playoff play-in teams. So they're going to be playing their hardest at the end of the year. You have to go into Boston, I believe, or Boston has to come to you. I pulled up the schedule yesterday. I'm not entirely sure what it is. But yeah, Milwaukee definitely has a bunch of road bumps in the way. And this might be just personally from what I've seen. And obviously the media twists and bends stuff, but it seems like Doc Rivers doesn't have as much confidence in his team as he should. There was a quote like a couple days back. He was like, "Yeah, like this is harder than I thought it would be." And I remember the quote like when he first started, he was, "Yeah, like I don't wish this upon anybody. This is a mess." But we're 3 weeks in now, and if it's still a mess, I I don't understand how you can mess it up with Giannis and Dame that bad. Like it doesn't make sense to me. So I think a lot of this does fall back on Doc, but having the same record as the Pistons over your last 10 games just is not a good look. So I definitely think the Bucks are on the hot seat and their championship window is coming to a close.
Yeah, I think on a lot of those points you hit the nail on the head. But that was spicy. That was harsh on the Bucks, and a lot of that is totally deserved because Chris Middleton, yeah, the injury stuff is just absolutely it's sad. It's sad, and I really don't think it's. This is probably either the third. This is probably I think the third year that you could argue that Chris Middleton is not the best player on the team. Well, actually, the fourth year because I would even argue in 21 he was not the second best player on the team. Drew Holiday was. Um, but man, he's such an incredible player, and I think even his shot making and his playmaking are super underrated still. Um, and when
Oh
he's on the
yeah.
floor, he's able to add a ton of value for the Bucks.
Oh
And
yeah.
on the Damian Lillard point, I think I'm not as low on him in terms of him like regressing. I think obviously you're going to see a dip in production in terms of like points per game. That's pretty obvious. But it's, as far as his shooting, I'm not seeing anything in terms of like his athleticism really declining crazily or his first step or him able to be getting space. But he's taking really like low quality shots in terms of like how other teams are guarding him. Um, like people are letting Malik Beasley shoot if you actually watch these games, and they're just guarding Damian Lillard like crazy,
Yeah.
even less than it
That's
did
a good point. Yeah.
because they want to. Um, it's just different than when he was on the Blazers because The Blazers have not been a good team for a couple years. I think Dame is going to be all right, but the Bucks championship window. I mean, as a Bucks fan, I don't want to lose all hope, but
Yeah.
man, they have to really really. I mean, they still have a really good record. They still have a top 3 seed. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone had like a hot take that the Bucks are going to be fighting for a play, like not fighting for a play-in spot, but they're going to be in the play-in this year. Like they might be a 7 or 8 seed, and that's. I mean, I wouldn't bet my entire life savings that they're not going to be in the play-in. Like I'm not saying that I would even consider them really being 7 or 8, but it's certainly a possibility. And the 5 seed is also not out of the realm of possibility. But they really have to turn stuff around, and the coaching really has to change. They can't fire Doc Rivers. That's ridiculous. But I
Yeah.
really think the Adrian Griffin thing was a little bit jumping the gun. I think they just should have at least let it
Hmm.
ride till the All Star break.
Yep.
Just there's a lot going on in Milwaukee, and I've talked about the Bucks way too much. But yeah, there's some problems for sure.
Yeah. I definitely agree with what you said about the Adrian Griffin thing. Um, I was even super confused about the move when it happened in the moment. Like I was texting some of my homies and I was like, yo, like I watch the Bucks, but I don't like watch the Bucks. Like, what am I missing? And they were like, yeah, like, like the defense is tough, but like, hey, you were winning. You were neck and neck with Boston. Fire fire Adrian Griffin. Now you're fighting for the 3-4 seed. And you know, yeah, like we've talked about the Bucks a lot, but yeah, I think a lot of this does come back to Doc Rivers. And I'm not gonna say it's Doc Rivers' fault. I don't know like the right word to use, but a lot of the negative attention and regression in certain areas for the team, I think can be pointed at Doc Rivers. And all right, enough of the Bucks. Moving on real quick. Like I stated earlier, pretenders or contenders, the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you have?
I think they need to make a move before they're actually contenders because they've played some pretty questionable competition in the last game, like the stretch that they're on before the All Star break. Donovan Mitchell's playing out of his mind. Uh, Jared Allen is playing great basketball, but I think the double big thing is really kind of not working for them. Like they've played so much better without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, so I think they have to trade. I don't want to say trade Evan Mobley, but if I've heard people say like, well, what if they trade Evan Mobley and Darius Garland and go get like LeBron or something like that, or go get like a superstar,
Like a
and then
PG or something like that.
yeah, someone that's like on the same level or maybe even better than Donovan Mitchell, because I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a number one on a championship team.
Really?
No, I don't think he
Really?
is. I think he's like just right below that. He's an incredible, incredible, incredible player, but he's also a cone on defense. So, and the Cavs have been really, really good on defense this year, but I just don't think it's sustainable. And I think they're kind of, I don't want to say frauds, but like I think they're more of
Wow.
a regular season team. And we were able to see like them get picked apart in last year's playoffs, only winning one game
Yeah,
against the Knicks.
that is true.
I think I might be being a little harsh, but they're just like very, very edging onto that contention spot, but I don't think they're quite there, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I did not expect to hear that. That was yeah, that's a concern that I was not expecting. But I I think the Cavs are fringe contenders right now. I know you've said a lot of stuff about the questionable play, but we just had the All-Star break. Team had a lot of time to figure stuff out, can maybe figure out what you're going to do in the second half of the season. How can you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the floor? Or do you move one to the bench and just kind of rotate? You have one on the floor at all times, type of thing. I think with the roster that the Cavs have right now, I think that they could make a title run. In my opinion, they have an underrated roster. I think that they do get a little bit too much hate for or strength of schedule and stuff like that because that has been the talk over social media since the All Star break as well regarding the Cavs. But Yeah, I have the Cavs as fringe contenders right now. I don't think that they are going to be the team to knock off the Celtics, but depending on how matchups come out, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cavs, be in the second round and possibly the ECF. It's just kind of how it's just how matchups. That's my biggest thing for the Cavs. So yeah, I got the Cavs, fringe contenders. I've said it 3 times. I sound like a broken record. I know, but I think Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell's that guy. In my opinion, he's the best shooting guard in the league, and it's not particularly close. And yeah, I think
Whoa,
Donovan
whoa, whoa.
Mitchell.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna get to that later, but
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, man. You can't ignore the stats. Donovan Mitchell, he's maybe one of the most underrated superstars in the league too. I would say because Donovan Mitchell has been where in the MVP voting. You've heard his name the last 2 years, and his name crept up in there a little bit in his last year in Utah too. So I think that Donovan Mitchell doesn't deserve not the hate he gets, but you know what I'm trying to say here. I feel like he deserves a little bit more than what people are giving him.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would argue that Donovan Mitchell, the defense is just too bad, and also for the Cavs, running two bigs, like neither of them can shoot at all, and we also have not seen any progression from Evan Mobley in his 3 point attempts or
Yeah.
shooting or anything like that. Um, but it's really I think it's really hard to like rate the Cavs on what they're going to do just because they looked really good last year and people thought it was their year and then all of a sudden it totally wasn't and
Yeah.
people thought that were like were we dumb for thinking that they were good at all like I think we're just going to have to wait to the postseason. I think that's just kind of a big thing for the Cavs and I wouldn't be completely surprised to see them in the ECF. I think you're kind of on the nose there. It is matchups in the East because there is a big talent gap between like kind of the top teams in the East and like the rest of them. But a
That's a
team like the
great point.
Pacers,
Yeah.
yeah, a team like the Pacers or a team like I think the Knicks are kind of past that point. The Knicks are like getting into that true contention range now,
Yeah.
and people are viewing them as like, can Jalen Brunson be a number one on a championship team? That's also a big kind of question being asked. I think him and Mitchell are like kind of right on a teeter on the edge of being able to be a number one. I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell like, oh no, there's no way that he can win a championship. Like, yeah, the Cavs could win a championship, but I'm saying like
Consistency wise.
yeah, consistency wise, like if you roll the dice 100 times, I don't expect like 10 or 20 of those times to be the Cavs. Like that's
Right.
it maybe like one or two or three times. Um, but yeah, the Cavs are kind of a tough team to rank, so that's a good one.
Gotcha. Moving on to our next thing. Who are your top 10 players in the league this year? You can include Joel Embiid in there if you want. My list, I'm not including Joel Embiid just because of injury. I'll say this now, my list, if Joel was healthy, would be at the top of my list, but obviously the meniscus, so I just excluded him from my list entirely. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm gonna go with the patented Matt Brockberg. No, Joel Embiid top 10. I really like that.
yeah,
We might maybe we'll push that in the title or something like that. But when you texted me this, I'm like, Kieran, I'm gonna ask you your top 10 is. It's like I don't even know if I could give that to you, but I'm gonna try. So this season, I'm not gonna go too much based on like only this season because some of these guys have not played a ton of games like Tyrese Halliburton. So I'm gonna try to take into account like what they're gonna do in the postseason. I'm gonna try to take into account like who they've been for the past couple of years. But my top 10, just in general in the NBA, Jokic has to be number one for me. I mean, you could say he's having like a down year, but a down year for Jokic is still like the best player in the league, in my opinion. He's still
yeah,
super efficient. He's still passing like a madman. His defense, I think, is the thing that's taken actually like quite a big jump this year as well. It's similar to last year. We saw him take a smaller jump, but he's like leading the league in loose balls, or not loose ball steals, but bad pass steals. So his hands are incredible. It's not like he's a super long guy, like arm span wise, but like he just finds ways to be in the right position and he can play team defense. and he's just in general not like a bad defensive center. He's very, very usable on that end. And he, like I said, the Denver Nuggets have a great defensive and especially offensive scheme, and he fits well within it. And that just makes him look like just the best all-around player in the NBA. Number two, Giannis is having. I don't know how Giannis is not second in MVP race right now. Maybe just because the buzz around the Bucks is not positive at all. But he's averaging over 30 points a game again. But his efficiency is ridiculous. He's shooting 65.1% true shooting. His mid range obviously is not hitting. His 3-point is not hitting, but neither of those things have really ever been a huge factor. But at the rim, he's shooting 61.6% from the field. He's like near the top of the league in field goal percentage for, like just guys that only catch lobs. And yes, Giannis just catches lobs, but he averages 30 points a game. He's not just doing that. He's creating offense for himself. He's really doing stuff with the ball. People say that he doesn't have a bag, and he really does not have a bag, but he's still super, super dominant. You don't need a bag. You don't need to be able to shoot basically at all.
When you can run and dunk and you're 7 foot, that's all you need, mate.
Yeah, James Harden, not my top 10, but he's also super underrated this year, in my opinion, and he's not that far out of my top 10 as much as some other people might have him. And I think he's the second best player on the Clippers. That might be a hot take. So number 3, I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He and Tyrese Halliburton have been like two outstanding guards in terms of like 2-point percentage. Sorry, the top 25 players in the league in terms of 2-point percentage are all centers or forwards. Number 26, that's Tyrese Halliburton. He's shooting 59% from 2-point range. Austin Reeves is also shooting 59, and then Shai is shooting 58% from 2, which is absolutely, I don't even know how that's possible. But
he takes so many jumpers.
Yeah, he's not taking easy shots either. He can just carve his way to the paint at will, super fast. But also the thing with him is his change of pace and his fundamentals are just out of this world. And he's shooting super efficiently, one of the most efficient players in the league, without even shooting exceptionally from 3. He's actually shooting 37.1% from 3. So that's gone quite a bit up. I remember a couple weeks ago I checked, it was 33. So he's actually shooting above league average from 3 and leading the league in steals. I don't think he's like a great defender, but he's definitely a positive defender.
Quick hands
for sure, and that speed and that athleticism, and he's a really big guy too for a guard. So Shai is just absolutely incredible. Luka, I have 4. His stats are super, super eye-popping. He has a ton of value to a team, but he's also very heliocentric. He needs the ball to score a lot. Just, I guess, trying to explain why he's not my top 3, but Luka is super, super, super awesome. Having a great year with the Dallas Mavericks. Kawhi, I have slipping into my top 5. He is, he's on fire this year. He's shooting almost 50, 40, 90, and one of I think 6 players in the Clippers shooting 40% from 3. But he's just been an engine this year, super, super consistent, and then also playing almost every game. And he's just been the engine to, for my money, probably the 3rd best team in the NBA, maybe 2nd, if you want to take them over the Nuggets. It's really looking like them and the Nuggets are going to be matched up in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals. Kevin Durant, I have at 6. He's shooting 44% from 3, having a super efficient season for the Suns. I think he's the best player on the Suns, and I don't think it's particularly close because Devin Booker's not having as great of a year. My thing on Devin Booker is he's passing the ball a lot this year, but I don't think he's passing the ball as well as you would want a point guard to do. I think that's because he's been overtaxed on doing that, and the Suns obviously a just ridiculous offensive team. But the roster construction is just really, really weird, and they have a bunch of 3 and D guys, but mostly 3 and not a lot of D, and also not a lot of D in depth for the Suns. So it just doesn't really work. But either way, Kevin Durant still out there getting buckets like he always does. Stephen Curry, I have at 7. He is in a really unfortunate situation right now with the Warriors not playing great, but he has been the bright spot besides, obviously the second timeline for the Warriors is playing incredibly well. Trace Jackson-Davis, you have Brandon Podziemski, you have Jonathan Kuminga playing really well, and even one of those guys entering into the starting lineup in Brandon Majewski in front of Klay Thompson. I think probably deservingly. But Steph has been, I mean, just consistently good as he always is. He's not like he's having a career year, but he's not taken really a huge step back this year. So I'm going to still put him at 7. I think he's been a top 3 to 5 player for nearly 10 years at this point. His dominance is unmatched. So Jason Tatum at 8. Jason Tatum also having just an awesome year for the Boston Celtics.
Ouch.
I've got to put him in the top 10. But and also probably maybe the most versatile player in the entire league for my money. He's able to hit step back jumpers at will. He's able to hit step back threes. He's able to create space for himself. And there's basically nothing that the man can't do. But in terms of like top level talent, he doesn't have that one thing that he's so good at, like Jokic's passing or Steph's shooting or Giannis's rim finishing or Shea's mid range or something like that that really makes him stand out as much. So 8 seems a little low, but he's right in the mix with a guy like Kawhi or KD or Steph, and I would easily flip him with any of those guys like that, kind of just depending on a matchup or a situation. But he's leading obviously the best team in the NBA and the best player on that team. So number 9, Tyrese Halliburton, an absolute just offensive engine for the Indiana Pacers, and he's not had the best last couple of weeks that he's been playing, but still leading the league in assists and scoring a bunch while doing it, and just the way that he's able to like jump and pass the ball and still make that pass and just be so creative with his passes and shoot the lights out of the ball. He's just ridiculous. And then number 10, I really want to put Donovan Mitchell in the top 10, but I think I'm just going to edge Jalen Brunson because of how important he is to the Knicks. I think he might be more important to the Knicks than Mitchell is to the Cavs. Without Brunson, the Knicks would just be an absolute dumpster fire. And
Yeah.
he just does everything for them. He's not like handling the ball the entire game like Luka is, but everything basically just runs through him, and he is the New York Knicks. He is their offense. He is their scheme and how they do things. So I'll put Brunson into my top 10.
Gotcha. Yeah, those were some names that I didn't expect to hear in certain spots. But yeah, now to start my top 10. Also, like I stated earlier, excluding Joel Embiid. Like you said, I think we have had a clear-cut best player in the world for these last couple of years. In my opinion, it's hard to not put Jokic at 1. He can do it all. He can pass, he can shoot, he can rebound, and his defense has just gotten better every single year he's been in the league. So Jokic at 1. I have Shea at my 2. I know you could say, "Oh, whatever, you're just watching the MVP." Man, I don't like the Thunder. Man, I am a Wolves fan. I hate the Thunder. But you got to give Shea his flowers. What guards do you see shooting the mid range as much as he does, shooting the 3 as much as he does, and putting up those types of numbers? And his quick hands, he's affecting the defensive side of the ball a ton. Um, I just think it's hard to ignore 31 a night, 33 a night. Seems like what he gives you every night, and he can get you 6 assists. He can get you a triple double every single night if he really wanted to. I just think Shea focuses his energies into his energy into just his offensive and his playmaking, which I think is what the Thunder need and what I think is good for the Thunder. So I'm going to put Shea at my 2, my number 3, and my number 4. They're both very interchangeable. Both players are amazing players and just pure talent and basketball skill. Individually, I would put them right under Jokic's 2 and 3. But I have Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo at my 3 and my 4. Like I said, very interchangeable. You could put them either at 3 or at 4. I don't hate either one.
Yeah.
Luka, obviously, like you said, he is the Mavericks at this point. He scored 73 this year, which is the highlight of this year so far, I think, in terms of basketball. And then Giannis he's just crazy. It still doesn't, he doesn't feel real when I watch him still. Like it's just such a 2K created like player. So I got Giannis and Luka at my 3 and 4. At my 5, I have Jason Tatum. The only reason I have him a lot higher than you do is because I'm taking a lot into this team success as well. So it's just I can't slip Jason Tatum out of my top 5. And I really think that if Jason Tatum used his body more, took it to the rim more, and I know this is a meme everywhere, but if he played more like Bron and less like Steph, I think Jason Tatum would be undoubtedly a top 3 player in this league. Um, he has the body type, and he can shoot. Everybody knows that. But I think Jason Tatum thinks he's a little bit better of a shooter than he is, and that's one of my only knacks on his game. And it's kind of the same thing with Anthony Edwards. I just wish him and Jason Tatum would take it to the rim a little bit more. And I'm not going to say settle, but I just wish they wouldn't take as many jump shots as they did. And my number 6, this is where my list and your list differ a lot.
Oh boy.
My number 6, I have Jalen Brunson.
Whoa. Top
Yeah,
6.
I got Jalen Brunson at my 6. Like you said,
Wow.
Jalen Brunson, the way I see it, kind of, is Jalen Brunson is just a little bit of a dumbed down version of Luka with how the Knicks are trying to approach Jalen Brunson's play style. I feel like they're
I
trying
agree.
to run, they're trying to run the team through him, and they're finding a ton of success. And granted, you've added a bunch of pieces that are huge additions to why they are where they're at. With obviously the first one coming to mind being the OG and Anunoby trade. But guys like Precious, he's played amazing since Hartenstein's been out and since Robinson's been out and Randall went down with that injury. Josh Hart has stepped up and he's gotten a couple triple doubles. Who else in there's other names, but either way, like you said, Jalen Brunson is the clear cut best player on this team. It's Jalen Brunson's team. He's revived New York basketball as we know it. I think he's the best player we've had in New York since Prime Mello. So yeah,
I
it's
think
just
he's better than Prime Melt, not gonna lie.
yeah. You think he
I,
is?
I I think it's close. In terms of how much they impact winning,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I'll give you that. So yeah, Jalen Brunson. I have him at my 6. My number 7. I got Kawhi Leonard. it was it was hard between Brunson and Kawhi. Like I told you before we started recording this episode, I literally just sat and looked at my computer and tried to figure out a way to number these 3 guys. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard has just been an absolute machine this year. It's what I expect out of Kawhi Leonard. He gets to his spots. As soon as he gets there, you might as well just turn around and start running the other way. Um, Absolutely amazing at getting to his spots on the offensive side of the ball. And as we all know, his defense is it's been crazy for the past decade. Um, Kawhi and James Harden have turned this Clippers team into legit contenders within these last 30 to 35 games. So I got Kawhi at my 7. At my 8, it pains me to put him here, but I got Donovan Mitchell. Um, I I couldn't put him above Jalen Brunson or Kawhi. Um, I just think those two are having such great years. But Donovan Mitchell, like you stated earlier in this episode, is a little bit of a cone on defense at times, and that's my knack on Donovan Mitchell. But it's just as an offensively gifted player, Donovan Mitchell is right up there with the best of them. He's been averaging almost 30 a game or maybe 30 a game. I don't know the exact number off rip, but Donovan Mitchell's had an amazing year. Evan Mobley and Garland have been out. Those are 2 of their top 5 players. So he's definitely shown that, in my opinion, that he can be a number 1 option on a championship team. So yeah, that's where I have him. A little team bias coming in here. I got Anthony Edwards in at 9. Um, I think that people aren't taking as deep of a look as they should at Anthony Edwards. Um, dude, I could talk about this dude for like the next 3 hours. How do I dumb this down? Let, we'll take this from to start out just a team perspective. The Wolves have been a playing team for the last 2 years, and they've been bounced in the first round by the Grizzlies and the Nuggets. Right prior to that, man, I couldn't even tell you the last time they made the playoffs, to be honest. Like, it's bad. And to take that third to fourth year jump and start to become the leader and the alpha of your team, and it's starting to show. They're the number one team in the West right now, and they have been. I think over 90% of the season. So he clearly he plays winning basketball. He makes the right plays. His points per game have taken a jump every year he's been in the league. His assists have taken a jump since every year since he's been in the league. Right now, his rebound numbers are down slightly, but if I had to take a guess by the end of it, when it's all said and done at the end of this regular season, his rebound numbers are going to be up there as well. I think he's also a top two-way player in this league. Um, he is an absolutely elite. He is an elite,
Sorry, top two.
elite, elite on ball defender. Elite. And he does not
present
get enough
Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum. May I present a Jason Tatum?
Guards. I'm sorry, guards.
Okay, I was
guards.
gonna say yeah.
Yes.
I can think of like Giannis, yes. Jason Tatum.
I forgot to specify.
Anthony Davis. Okay.
That's my fault. That's my fault. Guards. Anthony Edwards
continue.
is a top two-way player in this league. Obviously you've heard the comparisons. Oh, he's the next MJ, like whatever. And it's just the way that he plays. It's the style of how he plays basketball. Like he plays like a Dwayne Wade. He plays like a Michael Jordan. You see how much he wants to win on both ends, and it's showing. So I have Anthony Edwards at my 9. And then at my 10, I have Kevin Durant. The only reason I don't have KD higher is just because the Suns had some struggles early season. He had Devin Booker for a majority of it. And when he didn't have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal was there for a couple games. And yes, I know he was coming off injury, but I don't know. I can't put KD ahead of Ant just because of the season that the Suns are having. And I feel like Ant's got the edge on KD slightly defensively. And yes, I know two different players. They guard different players than say they're matched up with the Celtics, and KD's not going to guard the same guy Ant's going to guard. That's what I'm trying to get at. So that might be an unfair way to judge it. And yes, I'm aware there is definitely some team bias in there, but I will die on the hill that Anthony Edwards is a top 10 player this year. And to my honorable mentions, I got Tyrese Halliburton, and I'm sure he would be in there if that injury didn't happen, which is super sad. So Tyrese, James Harden, Devin Booker, and Steph Curry. Those are my 4 honorable mentions that I could understand if you wanted to sneak in there, but they were just my fringe guys.
Wow, that's I think both of our lists might be controversial for different reasons. You did not have Steph in there. I mean, not having LeBron in there is obvious. Oh, you didn't have LeBron as top 10. LeBron's not a top 10 player anymore.
No,
I'm sorry.
LeBron is not. He's not.
LeBron is really good. I was also surprised you didn't even mention Anthony Davis in your honorable mentions. I know you only mentioned 3, but I don't even want to mention a Laker. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. They get too much publicity as it is, man. But yeah, no. Real quick though, I like AD. I think the defensive player of the race, defensive player of the year race should be a little bit closer than what it is. I think Anthony Davis's defense is very. I think it's still even underrated a little bit. I went there.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets enough credit for what he really does and what he has to go through on a nightly basis. So, yeah, I love AD's game, but yeah, if you want to throw him in there too, I was just jotting stuff down. I didn't throw him in my honorable mentions, but yes, he is in there.
I'm gonna take this opportunity. I don't know why I thought I was gonna do this, but I'm just gonna tout Victor Wembanyama. I know we've been talking about him a lot. I think that there's a chance. I'm not saying that he is. I think there's a chance that Victor Wembanyama is the best defender in the league. Now that we're talking about defense, Anthony Davis probably like up there, top 3, top 5 defender.
All right, let's continue this. I like where this is going.
We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
I like where this is going. Yeah, we could definitely finish this off cam if you want to, but yeah, I don't hate that take. I really don't hate that take. Yeah, kind of bouncing down to my next thing that I had. A lot about the Thunder today. But are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub the next great duo in the league? What do you think on that?
Well, first of all, I think that J Dub is like one of the most underrated players in the league. I think Chet. I mean, obviously, if Victor Wembanyama was not in this year's draft class, then Chet would be like the runaway rookie of the year. Chet would be getting a ton of media press, but he's just not. And Chet's having one of the best rookie seasons we've seen in a couple years. But the fact that it's kind of being overshadowed by like the best rookie year we've seen like in decades and decades, it's kind of just unfortunate for him publicity wise. I know none of these guys really have a big ego on the Thunder. That's what I kind of like about him. But big duo. I think it's a big trio, honestly. I think these three guys are just. I'm going to say this again, but it's giving me KD and Russell Harden vibes, and none of them are like. It's not like one of them is like a James Harden where they're going to need some time to develop and they're coming off the bench. No, these guys are all starting. They're all contributing to winning basketball right out the gate. They're all super young, and just there's a lot to love about these guys, and they fit together super well. And as long as they stick together, like this is multiple championships, at least a couple finals runs as like a worst case scenario if they stick together. I only have good things to say about J Dub, and maybe it's because I like his Instagram posting because he's a super funny guy. But Shea, super fashionable guy as well, and I've got to root for my Midwestern guy in Chet Holmgren, also a super just really fun, likable guy. But the defense you see out of all three of these guys, the effort, the shooting as well. All three of these guys can shoot. J Dub super strong, can get into the paint, is super shifty. This is just a new wave of young players, and these guys are like the poster boys for that.
Yes, that's actually a really good way to put that. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Just a quick couple stats for you here. Just over the last 15 between Shea and J Dub, between the two of them over this last 15 games, they're averaging 53 points combined, 13 assists combined, and 10 boards and a steal and a half over these last 15. So definitely they're no joke. And like you said, back to the shooting, Shea's shooting 51% over these last 15, and his true shooting is 63% as a point guard on the number one option on a championship contending team. That's crazy. And with how many jump shots Shea takes, like I know he attacks the lane a lot, and he's starting to get the label as a free throw merchant.
That's
But
ridiculous. I don't. Yeah, that's not true.
he's a merchant. Yeah,
No.
true shoot, true shooting, 63%, and J Dub is shooting 55% over these last 15 games from the field, which is that's crazy for a second year. And his true shooting is just a tad below Shea's at 62%. And yeah, you nailed it on the head. I'm also getting Russ, Harden, and KD vibes. The city loves them. They have a great presence on social media. They're super marketable guys. Shea's got the whole deal with Skims. You see J Dub's Instagram. You see him on TikTok. Everybody knows who Chet Holmgren is. High school phenom. Yeah, Chet's been in the spotlight for a long time. So these guys I think they're all super mature and ahead of their time as well. And yeah, I think that Shea and J Dub could possibly be the best duo in the league, not next year, but the following year in the 2026 season, 2025, 2026 season.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2025, 2026 season. I think we could really see Shea and J Dub be the best duo in the league.
I mean, I think they're already maybe. I mean, off the top of my head, maybe like a top five or
Yeah.
near a top five duo in the NBA. And in terms of a trio, that's also probably I want to throw Chet Holmgren in there, also probably a top five trio in the NBA. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're incredible.
My only thing with the trio thing is I understand that it's hard to get everybody touches when you have a player with them like Shea, who's gonna take as many shots as he is. And now you have somebody like J Dub showing he can be an elite and maybe one of the best second options in the league. But there's just some inconsistencies on offense that I just like to see fixed from Chet. Personally, like I know he shoots the ball great, but like I want to see Chet be a little bit more aggressive, and I know that'll come with time, and he's still only a rookie. But that's just my one thing about Chet. It's not anything to be worried about by any means, and that's just me wanting to see Chet be great. So that's my one thing with Chet. But other than that, yeah, I think Nothing but good things for the Thunder. I think we're gonna have a great rivalry over this next decade between Anthony Edwards and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the Wolves Thunder rivalry that we're gonna have.
All right, good deal.
Yes, sir.
You got anything
That
else?
is no, that's really all that I have. Do you have anything that you want to touch on?
I had written down doing an all-star break power rankings, but that's going to take like an hour. So
Yeah, we
we
could do
skip
that for
that.
our next episode or something.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Well, yeah. That kind of sounds like we're gonna wrap her up for today, guys. So we appreciate you guys watching as always, pumping out better and better content for you guys, in my opinion, personally, every time that we start to record. Real quick, I just want to throw something out there real quick. If you guys are liking this podcast and do want to see a little bit more stuff on my side, I'm actually starting to co-host the Daily Wolves podcast. I'll throw that on the screen. I'll throw that in the description. So that's super exciting. Y'all know I love the Wolves. I'm super big on the Wolves. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, go check that out. But as always, guys, appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Peace out.